Okay, well, we have just hit 9:30 over here in Western Australia, so we'll get started. Hello and welcome. I'm Naomi Moylan. I'm the co-chair of the Young Onset Dementia Special Interest Group, along with Nathan Takuna. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands that we are all meeting on today and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. The Australian Young Onset Dementia Interest Group is a network committed to research, policy, and clinical care to improve outcomes for people with young onset dementia and their families. Our group includes nearly 100 people living with young onset dementia, care partners, researchers, clinicians, and service providers, and is working to foster and improve collaboration and information sharing across sectors. Today, we're really pleased to welcome you to the webinar, Let Us Grow, Life, Creativity and Connection. This is the first in a series of webinars for 2026, and we are very happy to be partnering with Young Onset Dementia WA Impact Network for these webinars. A special welcome and thanks to our presenters today who are on screen, Althea, Matthew, Becky, Tom and Gina. I would also like to welcome any of the YODSIG executive members and especially Nathan Takuna and Jade Cartwright who are helping with the webinar. The webinar is recorded and will go for 1 hour. Please use the Q&A function for your questions that we plan to answer at the end of the webinar. If we do run out of time, your questions will be collated and we'll send around some answers after the webinar. This webinar explores how creativity, arts-based engagement and inclusive group activities can support people living with young onset dementia to live meaningful and connected lives. Drawing on living experience and the practice wisdom of established programs, the webinar will share practical insights and inspiration for people living with young onset dementia, families and professionals alike. We hope you find this important conversation uplifting and insightful. Our first presenter today is Althea Gordon from Perth. Althea is founder and CEO of Mind the Change, an arts organisation that specifically supports people living with dementia and their support networks to apply creative engagement practices to their lives and to enhance wellbeing and resilience. Her passion was ignited from a young age while supporting her own mother navigate her young onset dementia journey for over 20 years. Althea has a degree in theatre arts and has studied arts and dementia at the University of Tasmania. Over the past 10 years, Althea has worked alongside some of Australia's leading dementia and aged care service providers in the fields of advocacy, community development, and dementia-friendly communities. Today, Althea will be speaking about how becoming creatively engaged and using proactive language can be the saving grace even on the worst day imaginable. So if I just get the rest of the presenters to turn off their video and audio, and over to you, Althea.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you to everyone who, all 28 of you who are currently dialing in from around the globe. It is something that I am extremely passionate about. So I'm really honoured to be here today. You can see the first slide below is a gorgeous, gorgeous photo of a project that we were able to host last year. It was actually, I can't believe it was nearly a year ago. And it was a partnership that we did with a WA-based puppet theatre called Spare Parts Puppet Theatre. They partnered with us and with the gorgeous lady pictured, Jen. And today we're just going to be, I guess, doing what I do best. I don't know if my purple hair gives it away, but pushing the envelope around what is possible when you think creatively. And does that have a price tag? Should it have a price tag? And what is involved when we look at activities. So moving on, I would like to just quickly ask the question, what is creative engagement? To me, whenever I suggest what we do at Mind the Change, it is always met with, oh, you guys do arts activities. Actually, no, we don't. We do creative engagement. And for me, that is something that is often misunderstood. For me, creative engagement, yes, uses arts-based interactive storytelling techniques. However, what it does is it creates community, it creates pathways to communication, and it creates immersive experiences. And when we as individuals think about our lives, we don't break it down into activities. I don't wake up in the morning, and my mum certainly never woke up in the morning and went, right, what activities do I do today? You just get up and you start doing your breakfast, you get dressed, you begin to think, right, what's left over from yesterday? What have I got planned? You consult the calendar. If you're anything like me and you're old school, it's still stuck with a magnet on the fridge. And for me, that is the start of creative engagement in an everyday setting because I'm seeking ways to engage with my day. My day might include my family, my day might include friends, my day might include people who are in the same life situation as me, it might include people at my workplace. But as an individual, as a human being, I'm looking to engage with my day. And so for me, there's no other way, again, my hair color might give it away, than to do that creatively. And so we then look at, well, how does that look when you are living with young onset dementia? And if I draw from my personal experience for just one moment and think back to my mum when she was first diagnosed 20 odd years ago, I was a late teen, and for me, it was a wild concept that my mum needed some support to figure out what to do with her day. However, it was also really apparent that whenever there was a creative suggestion, she would jump at it. And I think, well, why is that? And it was because it gave her an opportunity to connect with me as her daughter. It gave her an opportunity to connect with her grandchildren, who she loved. And it gave her an opportunity to connect with herself, which is so important. Creating and maintaining a sense of self, who you are, where you fit in this wonderfully wild world is so important. And it gave her the ability to do that in a way that was non-linear, non-direct, and really, really supportive. We think of linear tasks like making toast. If you miss one of the steps in that process, you don't end up with toast. However, when you're being creative, whether it's with music, whether it's with something like surfing, whether it's painting, whether it's singing, if you have an idea about how you want to approach that, it's welcomed because there's no one way to achieve a creative outcome. Um, Thank you. If I can go to the next one, please. Thanks. So that led me to think, what are the things that you do? Do you call what you do for fun and activity? Absolutely not. Every Thursday night, and tonight is no exception, I tap dance. I go and I join a group of 10 to 15 ladies. The eldest is 78, and we have the best time tap dancing our lives away. And I don't say I'm going out to do an activity, I'm going out to tap dance. And so for me, when we are engaging with artists, and we call our clients artists because they are, whether they're a performing artist, a visual artist, a digital artist, a photographer, they're an artist. We don't call them clients. And that's the first step, using that creative, positive language. Oh, I'm going to call my artist friend Matthew. I'm going to call my artist friend Diane. I'm not calling the client, I'm calling an artist. And so the minute I remove those tags from activities, it becomes a world of possibility. I want to do a painting. I want to do a photo shoot. I want to create music. I want to sing a song. I want you to record me singing a song. I want to share that with my family in England. That's not an activity. That's creative engagement. And that is seeing a person, connecting them to themselves, and then connecting them to their wider network, whether that's their family, friends, colleagues. That's where we come into our own. And it is, I feel so privileged to be able to do that alongside people. And we have a small but mighty team of facilitators who also help support that. Um, do we always know where we're going every single time? Absolutely not. How many people have gone into Kmart? That's a classic example. You go into the department store for one thing, you're buying a birthday card, but on the way to the birthday card section, you see something else. And you go, oh, wow, look at that. That's really cool. And so you stand for 5 minutes looking at it, deciding whether you need to part with $10 to get that as well as the birthday card. That's exactly how we as human beings are. That's what we do. We're not one sole task. We kind of look at things along the way. And the shopping experience is a perfect example of that. Another example is nature. When we go out, and I'm going to use surfing because we were talking about that earlier. If we go down to the beach to have a surf, do we just go from the car, pick up the board, go straight to the water and jump in? Absolutely not. We have a look at the beach. We have a look at the waves. You might pass a jellyfish on the sand. You might pass some really interesting shells, or maybe afterwards you're going to collect shells on your way back to the car. And then you have a discussion. I guarantee it. Everyone has the same discussion about how much beach sand really sticks to your feet, and you can never get it all off. So, do we know that that's going to happen every single time? Absolutely not. Is there a need to know? Absolutely not. So, again, let's be creative with those pathways of engagement. Let's not plan it to with every inch of its life or its duration. Allow it to be flexible, allow it to breathe. And oh, hello. And so then it gives us that possibility of taking it in another direction. It gives us the possibility to experiment. How many of us have been asked to cook or bake something that you don't really know what you're doing? My dad was champion at this. He had never really cooked his whole life. About 10 years into my mum's dementia journey, he was like, all right, I'm going to have to start cooking some things. The amount of photos that I would get from my dad on risen pizza bases, oven casseroles, new experimental recipes where he'd taken half of this vegetarian recipe and half of that vegetarian recipe. Look how great it turned out. Could he have imagined that at the beginning of the baking process? Absolutely not. Did I have any idea that my dad could be so creative? Absolutely not. However, if we never gave him that opportunity to pause and say, what if we never gave him the opportunity to go, yeah, let's give it a try. That's completely up to you. And I think if we allow people the possibility to be able to connect creatively and engage with all of these different things along the way, then that's where we can get true connection. Next slide, please, even though I said I wasn't going to say that. Maybe. There we go. I'd also like to finish with this because, as Naomi very rightly said as she introduced me, there are a lot of intelligent people here today. But where we are with creativity, we can't mistake that for something that is just having fun. Creativity, as Mr. Einstein said, is intelligence having fun. And if there is no creativity, even if it's you combining two spreads on a piece of toast in the morning, if there is no creativity in your life, then you are going to have challenges socially, emotionally, and eventually physically. So, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions creatively or otherwise. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Althea. I would now like to introduce Matthew Clements, also from Perth. Matthew is a retired civil engineer who started organising Songfest choir festivals in 2009 and is now running 5 festivals each year. During COVID, with singing virtually banned, Songfest struck out to find people who didn't have access to choirs, but for whom singing could provide critical social integration. This quickly led them to the dementia-friendly singing space. They now operate 7 weekly social singing groups, including 4 dementia-friendly groups. In 2024, they commenced the Young Onset Dementia Focused Singing Group, the Young Ones, at Vic Park Arts Centre. Rapid growth forced the group to move to a larger premise in 2025, and they now meet regularly on Monday afternoon at South Care in Manning. Songfest are a 100% volunteer organisation. They see a large and growing need for these groups everywhere and are continuing to increase their service in this field. Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks very much, Naomi, for that lovely introduction. So, yes, I'm Matthew Clements from Songfest, a not-for-profit operating in the community singing. So we're basically advocates for community singing, and wherever we see the possibility of community singing being useful to a community, we try to encourage that to happen by starting a singing group or assisting an existing singing group or something like that. And most of this has happened since COVID. You may remember in COVID, all singing was banned. So this was quite a shock to the singing community. All the choirs couldn't meet. And, this sort of social dislocation started happening quite quickly. And we noticed that people that were in more disadvantaged communities, or that were people who were suffering from trauma, people who relied on their social interactions perhaps more than the average person, were really suffering very fast. And all those services that they were used to getting each day just disappeared overnight. But we kept our groups going through COVID, but we couldn't always sing in a room, but we could sing outside, we could sing with masks. We thought of all sorts of ways of carrying on. So Songfest Inc., yes, best known, as Naomi introduced, for running choir festivals. So it's through the choir festivals that we have access to some 100 plus choirs around Western Australia. And it's really through these choirs gives us access to probably 2,000 or 3,000 singers. And that has formed really the volunteer base for the choirs that we're the social choirs that we have started. So what we're really doing at Songfest now, and this has become our major objective, is mobilising choir singers from these choirs that we've got to know so well to be involved in singing with other people just in community groups. So typically these community groups just sing-along songs. We don't teach harmonies, we don't have sheet music and things like that. So they're very easy access. And I would probably like, Nathan, if you could show the video now of our Young Onset group. Here they are.
Tomorrow, I wait until tomorrow, 'cause tomorrow sometimes never comes. So let's hope and there's a song to be sung, and the best time is to sing.
so that's a good example of one of our dementia-friendly groups. That particular one is called, or became called, The Young Ones, which is a great name for the group. The name came from one of the singers in the group who loved the song, The Young Ones, which is a Cliff Richard song, and of course it's a very meaningful title for the group, and actually the lyrics to the song are also very meaningful to the group. So it's become our theme song, which is rather nice. So we love that name. You can probably see it on the poster here behind me. That is the cover of our singing book, which often has, the book often has a colour associated with it, blue book or red book. This one was a white book, so we call it the White Album, which is a slight variation on the colour names. So the choirs, we mainly have fun. We started the Dementia, the Yod group in 2024. We came to know our videographer, Marie Lafan, who made that video that we just watched, also happens to be involved in operating an annual art festival called Yodyssey here in WA. And it was actually the 4 artists from the 2024 Yodyssey exhibition became the first 4 members with their partners. So 8 people became the first singers in our young onset dementia group, which runs every Monday afternoon. First of all, at the Victoria Park Arts Centre, who gave us great support in getting that group started. And we outgrew that pretty quickly. We could fit about 30 people in the art studio. And we moved over to Manning, where South Care have given us a lovely premises, which you would have seen on the video there at South Care in Manning. So that was the third of our dementia-friendly groups that we operate. We have 4 now, one in Busselton as well. What we've noticed with people living with young onset dementia in particular, they are obviously a bit younger. The type of music that they enjoy is a little bit more modern than in our other dementia groups. So Beatles seems to be a sweet spot with our singers and the young ones. And, it's defined as people who are diagnosed before they're 65 years old. That seems to be a rather general way of describing it. The effects of the dementia are a little different. We observe quite different things within the group, but what we do see in common with all our groups is that once people start singing, they become fully engaged in that, and it doesn't really seem to matter what level they're at. They're fully engaged with the singing, and we think that for the time they're at choir, they feel just like everybody else. They seem like everybody else. We forget that anybody in the room has dementia. You can't tell when they're singing. It's just a wonderful place to be. Singing seems to engage the whole brain in its activity, so there's no room for anything else to be going on while you're singing. There is so much to do. You have to remember the words and the lyrics. You have to sing with the people around you. You have to listen to the lead singers to see where they're taking you. There's just a lot going on, and it's fully engaging for the brain. And what we see when we have finished the singing session, we always have afternoon tea when we're finished. It's a very important part of the whole experience. So we sit down with a cup of tea and a piece of cake, and the chat in the room is quite amazing to listen to and observe. People are so engaged and so chatty afterwards. We think that the social experience of being with other singers is something that is perhaps not around for the rest of the week. So they always look forward to coming to singing on Mondays at the Young Ones, and we have just as good a time being with them. The groups are very much made up of the people living with dementia, their carers, and the volunteers. So there's 3 groups of people, but they're all part of the choir. We all sing, we all get just as much out of it, and we love sitting together and talking afterwards. So we do see that raised level of engagement from our participants. So we are 100% volunteer activity. We have found this has given us great strength in being able to replicate what we're doing. So we can find more volunteers through our choir networks. We find that the people who come to volunteer with us are very engaged. They stay. We have a very high retention rate with our volunteer singers, and they love coming just as much as everybody else does. We think that in Perth alone, we probably need 10 such choirs. We currently have 5, 4 of them operated by Songfest, and we need to keep making new choirs available because the amount of the requirement for this sort of activity is just growing very quickly all the time. And the rest of Australia also needs that as well. So we're engaged right now in engaging choir singers all over Australia to get together and start singing in groups like this. And we think there's tremendous possibilities nationally for this to go on. So that's the young ones and the Songfest Inc. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's such great opportunity to share your amazing work. Our third presentation today is from Becky and Tom Layton. Becky has an impressive resume from representing Australia as an elite level swimmer to studying and working as a sports scientist, developing coach education and managing sports funding in Australia and internationally. Becky has also worked in the disability sector as the director of a not-for-profit in the Northern Territory and ACT, and as a primary school teacher. Becky has always been an active member in the community as a volunteer, a coach, a board member for local and national community organisations. Becky is passionate about animals, especially horses and dogs, and she continues to volunteer for RSPCA and leads horse riding treks at a sheep and cattle station on the outskirts of Canberra. Becky lives with young onset dementia and is an active advocate for dementia-friendly communities. Becky is married to Tom, and they will celebrate 35 years of marriage this month, and they have 3 amazing adult daughters. Tom's professional life has been in management, design and strategy in the non-profit sector. He stopped working late last year to spend more time with Beck, and I think they can both add filmmaking to their resume, as we will now enjoy a video they have prepared, and they'll be here to answer questions at the end of the webinar. Thanks, Nathan, if you can play the video.
Let us grow, not grow like lettuce. You came out with that line the other day. It was an absolute classic. It cracked me up. I think it cracked everybody up. Maybe because I've got an instant image of my lettuce in the garden and how it tends to not grow. What do you mean by let us grow?
I guess for me, it's about doing all the things, well, trying to do all the things that I want to get done in my life. It's about me finding things that are suitable and safe for me to do, but also allowing me to challenge myself continually.
And so maybe a good example is Beck's Beats, African drumming group. But that started because you loved African drumming and you had been going to a big group, and well, what happened with that? What was the difficulty? What happened with?
Well, the group that I'd been drumming with was quite a large group. Other side of town, didn't have any transport to get there because I wasn't driving anymore.
What about enrolling? I remember just...
Oh yeah, that was a bit of a nightmare.
Enrolling became really difficult. And when was it on?
Late in the evening, which is not a good time for me.
You were just buggered.
Yeah, by the end of the day, I'm a bit ratty at the end of the day.
But so what do? We said, bugger it, we'll just start a group. Yeah. And we got a group of people with young onset dementia who are interested. And so how's the group been going?
Pretty good. We meet once a week and play some beats.
What does it do for you?
It's not doing it with my usual friends, but I have made more friends through the drumming, so that's good. I need to practice a lot more though, but I've got a very good teacher.
So what's the benefit of having a group specifically for people with young onset dementia?
I guess we're going through the same things. So you have a shoulder to cry on if you need that at some point. Like my stomach is turning right now thinking about the group won't be together for a great long time.
Well, sometimes we only have a couple because a couple of people have illness or doctor's appointments or which is a little bit people's lives. The timetable is part of the challenge because we have to structure a plan.
Yeah, we do have to have a structure.
And we
have to have transport to get to the places, and then there's doctor's appointments
and rostered support. And so it's become much more complicated.
It is.
And it's what we have to
and
have.
It's very intrusive. I know the support people don't mean to be that way, and they're very good, but it's still intrusive to have someone with me not all the time,
but and so it's this kind of double-sided thing. We have this incredibly complex roster that happens in a week for you to be busy and active and contribute, and in the week you're swimming, you're still going out horse riding, you've got a t-shirt on there for a wonderful organisation that you're able to volunteer with.
You came home one day and you're a bit cranky. You said you need to turn the bowl inside out instead of trying to put people together in groups of diseases, i.e. this is your bowl, linked to your disease. We're people, not categories. So you were kind of like, I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And you said friendship's no different, whether you've got dementia or not.
One of the things that's happened to us is you have lost contact with a lot of people, with friends, but then there's one particular friend I was thinking of that you have a wonderful friendship with. But what is it about that particular friend? So you just get on like a house on fire.
Yeah, we talk for hours. But, that's no different to before, I don't think, in that I have some friends that I could do that with before. But I guess she understands. Well, we've become quite close, and so she's a good person to lean on, to cry on if I need to, or to celebrate something if there's something to celebrate, and we keep in touch.
So it's sort of that combination of you would get on like a house on fire anyway, but also you have this shared challenge that you can support each other with. We've done some other things like that, like in the last year. Like, for instance, we went travelling. We went to the UK. And that strikes me as another kind of double-sided, like it was incredible and challenging. How was the trip for you?
The trip over was fine. It was okay. And when we were in overseas, it was a challenge for me because I was getting tired, because obviously when you're going overseas, you're walking and, lots of stuff happening, timetables, luggage, all that sort of stuff. That was very exhausting. And I had to I remember just curling up in a ball while we were overseas because I just hadn't any more energy left.
You were just exhausted.
I was exhausted. And then the worst bit was on the trip home because I just couldn't handle being in the plane any longer. It was torture. I won't travel again for such long legs. I've learnt that if you're going to travel, break it up into short legs.
So, we need a private jet.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you.
What's the best part of your day? Give me a...
Family.
No, give me a specific thing.
You. You asked for it.
I think we should stop there.
Thanks, Becky and Tom, for sharing so generously with us today. Our final speaker today is Gina Callan, who also has a very impressive resume that she will share with you, from being a registered nurse to civil marriage celebrant and relationship and emotional fitness coach, and so much in between. Gina is a proud 59-year-old woman, a mum, a wife, a grandmother, and dog owner who has recently been diagnosed with young onset dementia and ADHD. She has almost completely transitioned from working as a civil marriage celebrant to focusing on her health and family, while continuing to study and do advocacy work and volunteer work in the dementia and chronic disease space. Gina values the wholeness and dignity of individuals on their life's journey. She aims to help people find joy, balance, and fulfillment in relationships and to leave a meaningful legacy through her family, work, and books. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Naomi, and thanks to all the awesome speakers today. It's a great opportunity to be here, and I welcome it. So my name is Gina Callan and I'm 59. I've got young onset dementia, so I guess that makes me a yachty. Next slide, please. With an Alzheimer's diagnosis 16 months ago, I've got to say it felt like almost everything changed overnight and my growth really paused for quite a period of time. You see, one day, and without knowing why, I was and faltering to manage my usual life, to run a home, 2 small businesses and perform my nana duties with my usual zeal. But I did keep at it all the same, still officiating at marriage ceremonies, doing coaching and clinical hypnotherapy, and also even co-authoring books and planning for a bright future together, including more travel like Beck and Tom are talking. And then the next day I had a life-limiting neurodegenerative disease, and I was told that my health and my overall cognition will progressively decline. So they said, get your affairs in order, Gina, and then just be happy and enjoy each day. Science may catch up with the cure. Well, I've got to tell you, my family and I were pretty devastated. We were horrified, confused, and feeling alone without a blueprint or any kind of direction for getting the support we needed to live as well as we could. And I certainly had no idea if and how to grow my life in future at all. So my identity shifted, my confidence plummeted, and I withdrew. Days and weeks suddenly felt long and quite tricky to fill with meaningful activity or pursuits. And my groupie husband and I therefore set out and found Dementia Australia to proactively seek information, education and connection with others in the same boat. And everyone we met along the way initially seemed quite a bit older than us, and there were no formal programs, it seemed, funded for the under 65-year-olds. We begged, however, and we were finally able to get lucky and get hooked up with a group, the only ACT-based yachty coffee group that I'm aware of, and one formed by yachties and their carers to meet monthly. In addition, a weekly African drumming group subgroup had been started by Beck Layton, who you've just spoken here today. And I was so excited that that was accessible to me. So I jumped at this sort of novel and creative outlet that unexpectedly stretched my brain in all kinds of different ways to my working life. And more importantly, it was a group that brought laughter and conversation with others in the same boat to me at least once a week. So I finally kind of felt warmly supported, like I was in the right place and that I belonged in the drumming group. I understood then that yachties need much more than a simple diagnosis and some limited support to get our lives in order. We need options for interesting lives that we can step into, own, and grow with joy and hope. Lives that align with our human core needs beyond just simple survival, and lives that lend us some space and grace to adapt to our new and ever-changing daily reality. So from learning drums, I wondered what else might bring meaning and purpose into my life ahead. Next slide, thank you. Now, I was only bringing in a casual wage at that time, so I knew that my choices around future pursuits were probably limited. Thankfully, I did have some savings until I could access my super, and I also had a supportive partner still in the workforce, along with an education, the knowledge and skills gained from being a mum and nana to 4 grandkids, and from being an experienced nurse, public servant, I should say, celebrant, trainer, business owner, and volunteer. I'm also lucky because mine is a relatively mild cognitive impairment for now anyway. So after a meaningful professional life and great extracurricular times, I felt that I could ease my way out of paid roles and find other opportunities to still matter, to grow, and to contribute to the community. A diagnosis, you see, changes our circumstances, but it does not erase who we are as yachties. Young people still learning, loving, growing, adjusting, and filling many roles every single day. Next slide. When people hear the word dementia, they usually imagine frailty and old age, but yachties are under the age of 65, often still parenting and looking after our own parents, managing mortgages, caring for kids or grandkids, navigating work transitions, and contributing. Some are mildly impaired, some are further along, and still others have other issues too to contend with. So we're a diverse mob, but we're capable, intelligent, and creative people who deserve opportunities that truly reflect our diversity and our key needs, drivers, and values. Next slide. Yes, we may be able to fill our days with activity and friends, but being busy is not the same as being engaged in the right kinds of pursuits. Those that exercise the brain and body, protect our identity, encourage leadership and teamwork, manage skill and confidence, support our rehabilitation, and foster learning, growth, and contribution. That's why I'm now involved in a lot more activity, if you like, including dementia advocacy work, peer leadership, and research projects. I volunteer like Becky, do hydrotherapy, wobble about the neighbourhood on my e-bike with my grandkids, go to the theatre, and try to learn more about how to help myself and other people with dementia. I'm currently also involved in the SPICE program. This program of sustainable, personalised interventions for cognitive care and engagement at the University of Canberra is for people of all ages with dementia and their carers, and it runs over 10 weeks. But as the youngest in our group, it also feels like SPICE should really just be the beginning for people like me, for yachties like me and our partners and carers. Just imagine the benefits of having ongoing SPICE-like programs designed specifically for and with yachties and their carers. Programs with opportunities for even more cognitive, physical, creative, and spiritual discussion. Purpose and contribution, not just to keep us occupied, but to expertly help us to live our best lives over the next, hopefully 5 years or maybe even 30 years plus. Next slide, please. After a dementia diagnosis, something invisible happens. You may no longer feel or even be acknowledged by others as credible in professional and sometimes even personal spaces. You and others may question your time and spatial awareness, memory, skill, capacity, and competence. Some days you function well, and other days, for me anyway, my executive functioning completely collapses and I get emotional. But all yachties face our own unique challenges, I suppose, and we may end up negotiating our worth every single day. Yet we still love deeply, we show up for our families, contribute, and we want acceptance just as we are, to remain proud of what we've already achieved and created, and hopeful about what might still be possible with the right program design and supports in place. Next slide, please. A diagnosis does not ever mean that our core human needs suddenly disappear, including the needs of our personality, the need for certainty in life, for variety, to love and connect, and for significance to really matter, and the requirements of the spirit, the need for growth and contribution. If anything, I honestly believe that when your cognition's impacted, these needs, as articulated by the coaching guru Tony Robbins, and their additional needs, I should say, to Maslow's basic human needs of survival, like shelter and sustenance, I believe that they become even sharper. Surely it's not too much for modern yachties to hope that our top 2 or 3 needs of the personality and spirit might still be met despite our dementia. We don't want false positivity or to even be charity cases, but what we do really want is hope, the kind of hope that one gains when one is participating, learning, leading and contributing when and while we still can. Next slide, please. Now, activity programs, and I hate the word activity, but these programs anyway, for aged and disability populations, they don't always resonate with yachties who may want to participate in music, art or culture that actually is relevant to our era and attend varied and interesting outings, events, choirs, drama groups and occasions independently, and all supported by like-minded individuals and groups. Some of us may want dementia-specific spaces and some may want integrated community spaces, but many of us would simply like the option to choose. Language and tone do really matter around creative and meaningful pursuits because we are not patients simply here to fill our time in or clients to be served. We're still people who are expanding our lives. Next slide, please. What if yachties were involved in designing ongoing spice-like programs with arts and music initiatives like we've heard about already today, with physical, cognitive, social and spiritual rehab groups, peer leadership pathways and or paid, voluntary or flexible contribution roles? Rather than sitting on the sidelines of our own lives, we want to use our knowledge, collaborate, lead and contribute to future solutions. And with expert support, community funding and the backing of research partnerships, I really think it could be possible. Next slide. Of course, we can't do it alone. Our family and our friends are key. Dementia Australia provides vital education, information and support, and yachty-specific funding and programs I think must be created or expanded ahead as part of the NDIS planning and support system, and with the backing of clinicians who really could bring a great deal more hope to us through their care and practices. We yachties are, of course, deeply grateful for any assistance that we get right now, and in advance, I say thank you for any assistance we might get to live our best lives and to help ourselves to grow and contribute, because dignity lives in participation. Next slide, please. There is a saying, I think it was Ray Kroc, who said you are either green and growing or ripe and rotting. And I just want you to know that I believe many yachties are still green. So when you invest in us, you invest in hope, the hope that becomes practical, confidence, and brings stability to confidence. It strengthens our identity and our contribution. People don't just then survive. We grow and we flourish, and those around us, our important family and friends and carers, do too. And final slide, please. So please, I encourage you not to think of us as just people who are losing something. I'd love it if you could see us as people still becoming, because we're not finished stories, we are living chapters. With the right opportunities and collaborative design, we can continue to lead, contribute, and remain proud of who we are and who we are still becoming. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Gina. I think we'll all have to be replaying that presentation. There's just so much to take on board and so generous of you to share, and yeah, really motivating for a lot of us, I'm sure. So we do have some time for questions, which is wonderful. Jade Cartwright is going to be helping us to coordinate those questions. I'm not sure if any have been popped into the Q&A box yet, Jade, but if our amazing presenters would like to pop your videos and back on and your microphones, perhaps I could start with one question and then we'll jump over to Jade. You've all shared very generously about the amazing creative, engaging opportunities that you provide and your experiences. If there was something really burning that you would love to be able to see offered in the community or created in the community, co-designed and collaborated with in the community, is there something that is really sort of burning away at you that you would like to see, and maybe a call to action for some of the people that are participating in the webinar today?
I'd like to see a little bit more, and I think it touches on what Gina so beautifully articulated. I think I'd like to see a little bit more social research in this space. There is such a wealth of knowledge and a breadth of information to be looked at. And I think, yes, medical and scientific interventions have their place and they're definitely worthy. However, social research in this area specific to people living with YOD is vastly understated, and it's so ready to be addressed. As Gina and Becky were able to show us today, people are willing and ready to look at this. And I think if we're able to capture in social research how creativity can actually assist, again, to use Gina's words, to matter and grow, and to change how people like myself and Matthew can work and operate in this space, I think that would be, more than useful.
Thanks, Althea. And I know we do have some researchers in the webinar, so great point to make today. Did anyone else have something they would like to put forward as something they would love to see, help create or offer in the community? Gina?
Naomi, I guess I could just add that finding other people with younger onset dementia is a really hard thing. And I know some people don't want to be found, and that's okay. But I think that maybe there are other people like myself who just feel like they exist in a bit of a vacuum when first diagnosed. So I'd love to see some way, some directory created where you can voluntarily, give forth your name and maybe tell people a bit about yourself and see if there's just somebody else who might like to connect. Because friends are wonderfully loyal and fantastic, or they are wonderfully horrified about the diagnosis as well and kind of tend to step back and don't quite know what to say and sometimes disappear into the woodwork for some of us at times. So that's
wonderful. Thanks, Gina. Vicky, I can see that you've got your hand up. You can pop. Hi.
Hello. Look, I'd just like to thank all the presenters. It's been really great just to get the presentations and hear where everyone's at. And it's, oh yeah, I just love it. Can't get enough of it. And the creative as well as social engagement and connection, I think is really important. Just responding to what Gina just said there, one thing I've noticed since the implementation of NDIS, the opportunity for people living with YOD is nowhere near. We don't have the opportunity that we used to pre-NDIS, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that NDIS is individualised funding that supports the person. So all the group stuff, so the good stuff that Althea and others and Matthew and everyone does is just simply, you know, under the radar and not funded in that whole group stuff. So I think that's a tragedy, and I've noticed a big difference because my husband has been living with dementia for 15 years now and living very well, and we are very creative in the ways we connect and engage with others and what have you. But one thing we have done is we've created a private Facebook group just here in WA, and we don't allow service providers. We have over 160 carer couples, but even though we've got that number, let me say those who are newbies in the space don't use us for, you know, they really don't ask. And when they do, the responses are amazing because of the wealth of information and experience in the group. But we just don't have an opportunity to come together, and no matter how much we put up social activities to join in and, you know, and come together and meet up and all of that, they just don't come. And I don't know if that's because a lot of them are working, you know, for other demands, what have you, but there's a reluctance. And I think there's also a fear. There is still very much a shame and a stigma attached with people wanting to expose themselves and be vulnerable. Particularly, I think, in the earlier stages as well, because they're grappling, coming to terms with the whole thing. So there's just a lot going on. The other thing that we've done on a professional level, but also the voice of the people with living experiences at the front and centre of what we do, we've created the YOD WA Impact Network. And that we hope will run out nationally very soon. We're just it's a bit of a prototype, I guess, and a blueprint that hopefully will get up in other states. And we've got over 200 members in that group, and we're doing some good stuff. So I think there's hope. But again, I'm just not sure. I'm mystified as to how we get people on board with this. Just not happening.
Thanks, Vicky, and I don't think Vicky got to introduce herself to say that she is the facilitator of the Young Onset Dementia WA Impact Network. So great to have your voice here today, Vicky. For the panel members, we have 3 minutes left. Is there anything that you would like to add, Becky and Tom or Matthew, that hasn't been said, or one final last message to our audience today? Maybe a call to action or something that you just didn't get to say in your video or presentation? Maybe to you first, Matthew.
Well, we just want people to stay in the community. We think that social engagement is just the key to keeping, you know, your brain working at the very best way that it can. And whenever you sit down with other people, wherever that might be, that is really going to happen. And you know, come and sing with us, but there's lots of other opportunities. So you can have art with Althea, and all those sort of art activities are so engaging and good for you. But the social connection, to me, is the number one thing.
Great, thanks, Matthew. And Becky and Tom, any final last messages you'd like to give us today?
I guess one thing that I'm trying to do is when I'm out in the community or whatever, and I do something really dumb because of my dementia, I try to educate the people around me and even the wider circle that, you know, I'm a perfectly good human being, probably, well, anyway, but, you know, it's not me that's making that happen. It's my brain. I know that doesn't make sense, but yeah, it's very frustrating if I do something dumb or someone, like that. And if
It's
educating people to be kind and reasonable, and if I'm having trouble to use my phone to pay for something, just slow down. Even my husband, I have to tell, slow down, I can't move at your pace. I tell that to my children, I can't move at your pace. I used to outrun you, but I can't do that anymore. And so there's this need for patience, which I know can be very frustrating for the non-disabled person, but just kindness and appreciation of what people can do and what you can do.
Becky, that is the perfect way to end this webinar today. You have taught us all so much, and this will be recorded for many more people to watch and to learn. So thank you for your generosity, and to all our presenters and for everyone joining us today. We really appreciate your time. We did have a slide with some QR codes to, if you're not already a member of YODSIG or YOD WA Impact Network, if you're in WA, please join us, and we will send out links to that and to all the things that we've talked about and information about all our presenters in a follow-up email. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again at future webinars this year. Take care.